The Chinese leader, Mao Zedong, had been watching events in Korea. His new communist regime was only a year old and far from secure. Now the United Nations Army was rapidly approaching his eastern border. As far as Mao was concerned, this was blatant imperialist aggression, and it had to be stopped. In September 1950, he ordered the Chinese People's Volunteer Army into North Korea. Led by Commander Pang De-Huai, their aim was to confront and crush the United Nations. The vast armies of China had joined the war.
The 22nd of April 1951, 27,000 Chinese attack a defensive line held by the British 29th Infantry Brigade, numbering just 4,000 men. The Battle of the River Imjin was underway. By its conclusion, the remaining members of 1st Battalion, the Gloucestershire Regiment, were fated for their bravery and determination.
And I was in my trench, fully awake, and one of the privates coming on, he says, "Corporal," he says, "I think somebody's coming up up the hill." I said, did you call out a password?" He said, "Oh yeah, I don't know, I can't remember. It was something like white cloud, I think it was. We had to say white, and they had to answer cloud. I think that's what it was. I'm not sure, but it was something like that. Whereas he said, yeah, he said, I shouted out, and I didn't get any answer. He said, how many times did you call? He said, about 3 times. I said, all right, then I'll say, I'll come along then. So I come along to where he had a brain gun, right on the end of the ridge on this little mound. And I got into his trench, and he said, "Can you hear that?" I said, "Yeah, I can." So I shouted out, "White?" I mean, you could have heard that across on D Company or A Company. And no answer, and there was still a rustle down there, you know. I said, "But I'm not having any of this," I says, "Give me a grenade." So he gave me a 36 grenade. I pulled the pin out and I lobbed it down there. And this would be about 1 o'clock in the morning. And things are very quiet at that particular time. And there was an almighty explosion with that grenade going off. And I said, "Could you hear anything now?" "No." Oh, I said, "We must have got it then." I said, "In the meantime, the whole company was on this mode. They've all stood to. Because, I mean, the explosion, officers and all, they're all stood to." Well, I said, "That's shut them up, whoever it is down there. We'll find out in the morning." So we all go back to our natural posts. All the company go back to Cape, if they could do. And I go back to my trench with because I was a 2-inch mortar I was on two. I was 2-inch number 1 on the 2-inch, and I had my number 2, who'd done the firing. He had the. He was on my right. Ollie Ullman, his name was. And in the morning, we found out that was a load of dogs down there, a load of wild dogs. Somebody had put some grub down there, and they were rummaging it through all the way down there. You know, oh dear. I was called up in front of the company CO, company commander. He said, "What's happening?" And I went through exactly what I said to you. He said, "I suppose," he says, "you could say that's a stitching time saves 9, I suppose," is words to the effect. I said, "Well," I says, "I didn't have any option." I said, "I had to do it." He said, "Well," he said, "I didn't thank you for it because you got us all on TV."
Scared the living daylights.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
So that was that.
The Gloucesters found themselves on Hill 235, surrounded by Chinese troops and isolated from the rest of the brigade. Despite this, they fought on through the 24th and 25th of April. Tens of thousands of those who fought in Korea were national servicemen who would have gone through basic training, living in a barrack room like this one. In fact, of the 866 Gloucesters who fought at Imjin, some 14% were national servicemen, earning 18 shillings a week, and 43% were army reservists.
We had a lot of reservists called back, and I was fortunate to have a reservist for a gunner, and also there's a sergeant commander of the tank. And so they looked after us young boys. And they knew that we would eventually grow up. And we grew up, well, I and the rest of C Squadron of the 8th Hussars grew up at the Battle of the Imjin. And that was what we wanted. And as we didn't know what to expect, we weren't frightened.
Eventually, the Gloucesters could fight on no longer. On the morning of the 25th of April, the troops were told to make it back to the British lines as they could. 59 Gloucesters were killed in action, 180 wounded. 522 became prisoners of war, 34 of those dying in captivity. On April the 27th, 1st Battalion could only muster 217 men. However, around 10,000 Chinese personnel had died. The Battle of the Imjin River disrupted the Chinese advance, ultimately forcing them to abandon their spring offensive against the UN. At the time, the Americans recognised the huge importance of the Gloucesters' heroism, and their stand at Hill 235, now renamed Gloucester Hill, has become synonymous with what it is to be a British soldier.